Looks like a couple more joined us. Can you guys hear me? Are you able to drop something in the chat to let me know you can hear me okay? All right, all right. Hey, everyone. Looks like there's a few of you that have joined, some more joining us now. It's great to be here. Topic of the conversation is how to build a customer success-focused go-to-market strategy. If you can hear me, go ahead and drop a hello in the chat. Let me know if I'm coming through okay, and we'll jump right into the content. Happy to answer questions too, so feel free to drop any questions in the chat if any come to mind as we go through the content. So before I get into the how, I always like to start with the why. And so really, when you think about any new company that is trying to build a great product or service that solves a meaningful problem, there's a couple of really key, what I would almost call prerequisites that are really important before you even think about, defining what your go-to-market strategy is. And so really, I think those two prerequisites come down to, one, you actually have to have a really great differentiated product that drives meaningful outcomes for your customers. A lot of people will, think of maybe a good idea, but not invest the required time in customer research, product development to really make sure that what they're doing is solving an important problem, and that really resonates with their customers. So like prerequisite number one. Prerequisite number two is, in order to have, in my opinion, a customer success focused go-to-market strategy, it really requires a significant shift in your mindset. You have to really truly understand how B2B buying is happening today. You need to let go of a lot of old assumptions that can really create a poor mindset that if you don't cultivate the right one, you're not going to be able to follow the formula that I'm about to outline. So mindset is crucial. It's about really understanding that the way B2B buyers, buy today is dramatically different than the way it was 10 years ago. It's shedding the growth at all costs mentality and really embracing a long game approach and mindset and be willing to do the work and to take the time and have the patience to do things the right way, to see things through. So with my prerequisites out of the way, let me dive into the three core pillars of a customer success focused go-to-market strategy. And so you have awareness, you have acquisition, and you have retention. At the end of the day, those are the three primary components of any go-to-market strategy. And so when you think about how you can do this in a more customer-centric way, I'm going to break down each of those three pillars to express how I view the ultimate goal with driving awareness for your product, acquiring customers, and then arguably most importantly, retaining those customers once you've acquired them. We'll talk a little bit about how to execute after this as well. So number one is awareness. And so this is where marketing essentially comes into play. And the primary goal of your marketing team should be to communicate to your market where they already spend their time, develop a compelling message so that they will come to you when they are ready to buy. And that your strategy is content first, value first, education first, entertainment first. You want to capture their attention in places that they already spend time and with really high quality, relevant, rich content. And that can mean a lot of different things. That can mean video, that can mean case studies, that can mean creative assets. So it doesn't matter. It can all work as long as it's created with the right mindset and it's distributed in places that your customers already exist. And make it easy for them to consume that information. Don't require that they hand over their email or anything like that. That's how you think about marketing today in a way that's going to be successful and buyer-centric. Then you have acquisition. So once you spend all of this effort building awareness and driving inbound interest for your product or service, you want to make the acquisition process as easy and seamless as possible. You want to be transparent with your pricing. You want to be able to let the buyer get themselves 80% of the way through the buying process without ever actually talking with someone. You want to be responsive. When they raise their hand and say, I want to talk to a salesperson, you want to make sure that you can talk to them same day or next day and make it easy to get something scheduled on the calendar. You don't want to immediately just jump into your pitch and your demo script. Like, you want to really understand the research that they've done, their remaining questions, and what they're looking to do, and cater your sales process to what matters to them and what they need in order to ultimately make a decision and ideally buy your product. You then have retention. And so retention is really about customer success. And so this is where once you acquire that customer, there's a lot of components that go into this. The first touch is typically the handoff from sales to customer success. Then you have onboarding, and then you typically have a set of key activities or milestones that need to occur over the course of the customer life cycle in order for them to fully adopt your product, leverage your service most effectively, and ultimately you're driving towards some type of desired outcome or result. So everything that you're doing, whether they're adopting your software, if you're delivering some type of service, they purchased from you because they believed that you could help them solve a problem, that you would be able to help them achieve a desired result or an outcome that they weren't achieving before they made the investment. And so really mapping out that customer journey of what does that handoff look like? What is onboarding? How do you design your customer journey so that over the course of your time working with the customer, you can make sure that they're on track to ultimately receive the benefit that they expected when they purchased? And how can you develop early indicators to know if at any point that customer is getting off track so that you can help them get back on track and avoid any potential churn down the road? The retention piece is key, and especially for most companies, that can almost always mean additional growth opportunities in the form of expansion or upsell. So it really is important to invest a lot of time in developing your customer success strategy, your playbooks, your processes, because the bulk of the revenue of the company is going to be managed by that team. And arguably in many different B2B companies, especially SaaS companies, there's often more growth opportunity for additional revenue within your current customer base than any potential net new customer that might come on board. And the long-term retention of that customer is really what's driving the lifetime value of your products and services. And so really you have that pulling back a little bit. You have awareness, you have acquisition, and you have retention. And the goal is for each of these, you're putting yourself in your buyer's shoe and you are meeting them where they're at every step of the way, as opposed to designing an internal process that is more effective for the company and imposing that process on your buyers. Today, for example, with awareness, so many people run the old marketing playbook, right? Gated content, email nurture sequences, calling webinar registrations the day after the webinar to try to book a meeting. None of that stuff works anymore, and it's not buyer centric. And so it's really shedding all of those old playbooks and embracing the new ones. With acquisition, we have the opportunity to have a personalized, responsive, fast sales process that is really tailored to each buyer. Don't force them to follow every step of your sales process. And then retention. Customer success typically always needs more attention, investment, and resources at a company so that they can be set up for success to do everything that's required for long-term retention and growth and advocacy. So truly invest in that function in order for you to keep all those customers you work so hard to acquire. All right, let's talk a little bit more about execution. Feel free to drop any questions in the chat. Happy to answer as we go. I see it looks like there's 28 of you here. So how do you need to think differently about execution in order to implement the three pillared framework that I just outlined? So I'm going to go through 5 different points here to break this down even further, to give you guys some more detail about how you could think about potentially implementing this type of approach within your context, wherever that may be. So the first is org design. So it's very common for a lot of companies to just build out teams in the way that it's always been done. Oh, we need a marketing team, we need an SDR team, we need an AE team, we need a CS team, and essentially just like taking a page out of the old playbook and saying, let's copy and paste this org chart and just build that team. This is where I would challenge you to think about your context. What are the right marketing roles that you should invest in? Probably more related to content, brand, demand gen right off the bat. Do you need an SDR function? Is that a requirement for your business? In many cases, it is a good idea to have it, but not all of them, right? So the point is there isn't a right or wrong, and there's no absolutes here, but it's to think really critically about your context and what's really needed. You then have your account executives, and you'll definitely need some form of salesperson. So you're going to have some type of sales team there, and then customer success. So it's just, instead of copying and pasting the old org chart, think critically about what roles you really need based on the goals that you have, and design your org structure in that way. The second point I want to make is on goal setting. And here the key is really, you have to go slow to go fast. The common trend that you see, especially in a lot of startups, is they have very ambitious growth goals that perhaps were promised as part of a funding round or an investment discussion with an investor. And if there are these high goals where the teams are pressured to achieve them, that's where you see people making maybe decisions that are potentially going to drive some short-term results, but are going to be really detrimental in the long term. And so this is where you need to be really smart and responsible about goal setting. Don't set goals that are impossible to achieve. Really understand how long it takes to build a business, and set goals that are aggressively achievable, and that the teams feel that they have some chance of hitting those goals. If you set goals that are impossible, number one, it's a morale killer. You're not going to hit them anyway, and you're going to incentivize really poor behavior that is going to turn off customers and potentially impact your company's reputation. Now, the next 3 tips are really focused on marketing, sales, and customer success. So let's dig into marketing for a moment. The key here is you need to focus on the key activities that are actually going to build awareness, and not just activities that you can measure. The trap that most companies fall in is they spend all of their marketing efforts capturing the 1% of demand that exists and ignoring the other 99% of their market that could want their service one day, just maybe aren't in market to buy right now. And so it's really important to, play the long game here, educate your entire market, and focus on creating demand and of course, also capturing demand. For sales, again, it's really about that responsive, relationship-driven sales process that is really designed to ensure that it is going to be a good long-term fit. Your sales process shouldn't be designed to close people as quickly as possible. You should not be, over-promising to under-deliver. It should really be a consultation of, one of the things I say on sales calls, that's my one line, is I'm not here to convince you to buy my product or to hire us for our services. I'm here to work with you to identify if this is going to be a good long-term fit. And so that's the way you need to be thinking about sales overall. And then customer success. And so here, the true crux of it is customers want to achieve the desired outcome that they expected when they made the purchase. And so I call that time to value. From contract signing to when they get that outcome, that's a window of time. It'll be very different depending on the company and the product or the service, but you basically need to expedite time to value as soon as possible. And you need to be able to identify those milestones and those aha moments that your customers will achieve along the way to the desired outcome that create validation that we're on the right track, and that The outcome will happen. We just need to continue to execute, do X, Y, and Z, again, depending on your product or your service. That is how you're going to actually get long-term retention. That's where upsell opportunities will present themselves naturally. That's where you'll actually be able to build a bench of advocates, customer advocates that love your product and service. And then it fuels that flywheel. Then they become advocates in the market. You will build awareness and acquire new customers from their word of mouth activities. And that's the beauty of designing your whole approach in a customer-centric way, because your customers are actually going to feel that you understand them, that they were treated properly, that they're getting what they expected. And today, if you can check all those boxes for a customer, they're very happy to be an advocate, because unfortunately, that's often the exception and not the rule of what we see today in the broader landscape. So that's the framework of how to think about your customer success focused go-to-market strategy. Again, you're really thinking about the awareness, acquisition, and retention pillar. And when you really think about execution, the keys are: how is your org designed? How are you setting your goals? Is your marketing team actually creating demand? Is your sales team being responsive and personalized and really qualifying for long-term fit, not just closing deals? And then customer success, how can you get to that time to value as soon as possible? So with that, I'll wrap up. I know we just have a couple of minutes left on this session. Happy to answer any questions. Feel free to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, we can wrap up. Thanks for coming, whoever you were. I can't see you. Looks like no questions. So I think we're probably good. Hope you guys enjoyed the session and you guys are enjoying RevCon. Catch you later.